5 theories about May's origin in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. May's origin is one of the biggest intrigues in the next installment of Planet of the Apes. There are different theories about her origin, from her possibly being a time-traveling astronaut to being a mutant. In this video, we will talk about the 5 theories of May's origin that we could see in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So if you want to know everything related to the Planet of the Apes universe, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Welcome to the Oasis Geek. First, let's go over the reasons why we think May is no ordinary human. In the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer, we can see her wearing a blue shirt and what appears to be a suit. The same one that some have claimed is similar to the astronaut suit in several movies. But why would she be an astronaut, and what exactly is Icarus? Icarus, in the new Planet of the Apes trilogy, is a spaceship that is briefly mentioned, establishing a connection to the original films. In Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it is seen on the news that the Icarus spaceship has been launched and is later reported to be lost in space. Although some people claim that mentioning the Icarus spaceship in a newspaper was simply an homage to the previous films, we must understand that astronauts and time travel are fundamental things in this universe, although it is understood that these are elements that are not to everyone's liking. However, although May could be an astronaut, there is another explanation. One that could be even more complicated for the apes. May could be a mutant. But what exactly are these mutants? In the movie Beneath the Planet of the Apes, we met these humans after astronaut Brent confronts them. Brent is the sole survivor of a second spaceship, which crashes in the Forbidden Zone. He realizes he is in year 3955, but he assumes he is on another planet. Brent finds Nova, who is wearing Taylor's tags, and heads towards the Forbidden Zone, where he meets these humans from the future. The mutants are descendants of humans who survived a nuclear holocaust. Residing in the ancient caves of the New York subway, these mutants developed telepathic powers as a result of genetic mutations caused by nuclear radiation. In addition to telepathy, they have the ability to create illusions and exercise mind control. Their physical appearance is noticeably different due to the mutations, showing deformities and altered skin. Despite their powers, these mutants fail to repel the ape invasion led by General Ursus. But then, could May be a mutant? In the original movies, the mutants lived in the depths of New York. This is not the same place where we see May. However, it wasn't always this way. According to the stories of this universe, the mutants were survivors of a nuclear war, which occurred in 1990, and were kept under tunnels all over the world. They then established a city in the ruins of New York to worship their god, the nuclear bomb. So it is possible that there are mutants in the area of humans, at the time of Noah and Proximus Caesar. Proximus Caesar is in search of ancient technology, and it is possible that if mutants exist in this era, they coincide with Proximus Caesar. Perhaps May is a mutant abducted by the men of Proximus and then saved by Noah. It is possible that what we know as mutants in the time of Proximus Caesar are closer to the original humans and do not have powers yet. Maybe that's why May has clothes of a normal human, because she comes from the ruins of the human civilization of mutants who live in hiding, trying to survive. If May is really a mutant, or the first mutant, this could forever change the history of this world, as we could be seeing the origin, not only of the ape civilization we saw in the original movies, but also of the mutant civilization. At the end of the movie, May could escape with other humans to the Forbidden Zone, to live underground, near some nuclear bombs, while Noah and Raka create a religion with all its rules, to prevent apes like Proximus Caesar from approaching this place. Perhaps, that is why it seems that both apes and mutants, in the original stories, maintained a certain respect for the Forbidden Zone. And of course, this would explain why it was forbidden in the first place, as Noah wanted to keep the peace between those mutants and humans. Perhaps we could see an agreement between May, Noah, and Raka at the end of the third movie that would lead us in a way to the stories of the original movies. This is a rather interesting theory, and one that would change the idea that May is an astronaut. However, the astronaut theory, I think, carries more weight, and I think it is the one that will end up being correct, as all the clues in the trailer lean more that we will see the new generation of the Icarus spaceship. This doesn't mean I'm saying that this trilogy is connected to the previous films. I think they occur in their own timeline, but if we want to understand how the story of this new trilogy will be, we must look at the original films, as the director himself has mentioned, that they take inspiration from those films. And of course, I think they are elements that will always be repeated in the history of this universe. If this theory is confirmed, the plot of the film could develop as follows. Proximus Caesar, in his tireless search for human technology, discovers a subway civilization and captures May. Subsequently, Noah and May meet, and Noah manages to rescue May from the hands of Proximus Caesar. After this encounter, May, Noah, and Raka join forces to confront Proximus Caesar, finally defeating him. This confrontation and resolution could be key events in the trilogy. In the end, with Proximus Caesar defeated, an important pact is established. Apes and humans will decide to live separately. In this new order, Raka establishes the Apes Law, which forbids apes to approach the Forbidden Zone, a place that becomes a sacred boundary and a reminder of the peace achieved. At the same time, May emerges as the first leader of the mutants, a character that emerges as fundamental in the future stories. Or at least this would be the theory. But tell me, what do you think of the theory that May is the first mutant? If one character stood out among all the humans we saw in the trailer of the next Planet of the Apes movie, it was May. A character that became the biggest mystery of these previews, and that keeps the fans of this universe theorizing what could be her identity. May is a human, who apparently receives help from Noah and Raka. Noah is the new protagonist of the film, possibly a descendant of Caesar, who must carry on Caesar's true legacy. Meanwhile, Raka possibly has a connection to Maurice and the Ape Law. In the trailer, we saw how Noah helps May several times, giving her food and even climbing a cliff with her on his back. In some of the footage released from the new film, we could see a scene where May, Raka, and Noah were in what appeared to be a fishing net, and we also saw May alongside Proximus Caesar's men. Proximus Caesar is the leader of a group of apes, from a different tribe than our protagonist, and who will be the villain in the story. This means that May is important to both Noah's tribe and Proximus Caesar's tribe. If May is not an astronaut, then she could be the first human who can talk in 300 years. In the past, because of an experimental drug, the order of society changed. This substance caused a radical change. While apes experienced an impressive increase in intelligence, humans suffered a dramatic decline in their abilities. Unexpectedly and disconcertingly, humans began to lose their ability to speak. Not only that, but they also experienced a deterioration in their cognitive abilities, profoundly affecting the way they interacted with the world and with each other. This loss of verbal communication and cognitive regression brought humanity to a state that could be described as primitive, almost animalistic. They were no longer the rational, eloquent beings that once dominated the planet. Instead, they found themselves reduced to more basic forms of expression and a simplified way of life, far removed from the complexity that once characterized their existence. Humanity, the most advanced species on the planet, was lost to silence, losing not only its voice, but also part of its essence. But some humans remained close to the ape tribes, who were now the dominant species. Now, May could be a human who lived near this ape tribe, where these apes treated humans well. Scenes have been seen in which Proximus Caesar's tribe attacks humans, and the film's director has mentioned that Proximus has misrepresented Caesar's teachings. Maybe Noah's tribe, instead of hunting the humans, they help them, and they discover that this human can talk. But this would not be just any human. She could be a descendant of Nova. Nova was a human who stayed as part of Caesar's tribe, and it is possible that her descendants also stayed close to this tribe. Perhaps among Caesar's teachings was the idea that humans were allies of the apes and not enemies. That certain people had to be protected, and that a union between the apes had to be maintained. Clearly, these teachings are no longer followed by the side of Proximus Caesar, who see humans more as animals. But of course, more than 300 years have passed since Caesar died, and his teachings are no longer fully remembered. The interesting thing is, we could see descendants of many characters. It has even been theorized that Proximus Caesar could be a descendant of Bad Ape. In a recent interview, the director of this film stated that he took inspiration from Star Wars, a story of adventure and self-discovery. Like Luke Skywalker, Noah discovers his path in this world. And just like in the Star Wars movies, we will see many descendants of the characters from Caesar's trilogy. Now, if May really is the first human to speak in 300 years, she could be the human who makes sense of what happened in the past. We could see May accompany Noah to the ancient human civilization, in search of food or technology that could help them. Perhaps this is the same reason why she is imprisoned by the men of Proximus Caesar, as she must take this villain to the ruins of humanity, a place she knows better than anyone else, as she has survived in these places that apes would not dare to visit. So, if this is the case, May's story would also have a rather sad ending. According to several clues we have seen in the trailer, we can think that Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes will be a prequel to the original films. Although it may not be a direct prequel, there is enough evidence to think that it is an alternate reality based on the same events. Moments such as the ape conquest of the planet, the Icarus, Caesar, and possibly even the ape lawgiver make it more than evident that these films are connected to a timeline quite similar to the originals. This means we will most likely see that humans will not be in a position of power again. If May is really a talking human, she would be the only one to do so, being destined to lose her life. Apes would be taking more control of the world, and humans would continue to be persecuted and used as an object of experimentation. Personally, while this is a likely theory, it does not explain why May wears more normal human clothing, which could point to the theories of May being an astronaut or mutant, being more likely than her being the first human to speak in 300 years. But there could be a possibility that this human learned to speak and dress in the human ruins, and that these clothes were taken from that place. Although, of course, we would be assuming that human clothing has remained in good condition for 300 years. Theories about the true identity of the human have begun to emerge in different internet portals like Reddit, or even in the same trailer of the movie. But these theories seem to gain more strength after a discovery in the trailer. Different Reddit users showed one of the images from the trailer and clarified it. In the image, we can see Noah climbing up a cliff with May on his back. May is this human we've seen in other images from the movie. But there is something that many have noticed. May's clothing is different from the rest of the humans in the trailer. She appears to be wearing a blue shirt as a type of suit. One of the Reddit users has compared her clothes with those of the astronauts in the movie The Martian, where we can see similar clothing to what May is wearing. Now, with these revelations, we have a clear vision of what the movie will be about, and clearly, this changes our theories quite a bit of what we might see at the end of the movie. But how does May fall into this story if she really is an astronaut? If we presuppose that May is indeed an astronaut, we can make sense of many scenes and images that were revealed. But to understand what her role is, we must first understand the role of Noah and Proximus Caesar. Proximus Caesar is the leader of a group of apes. Proximus is looking for human technology that will allow him to conquer the world and create an empire on the ashes of humanity. But we don't know what exactly drives Proximus Caesar to seek this technology. Although, of course, if May is really an astronaut, we already have a pretty clear theory of what's going on. It is possible that Proximus Caesar begins as a simple leader of the apes, who sees a sign in the sky, which leads him to the destroyed city of the humans, in search of that lost technology. This signal that Proximus Caesar would see could be the arrival of the Icarus spaceship. In newspaper clippings of the past trilogy, we saw how it was mentioned that the Icarus spaceship had disappeared. In the original movies, we saw how the Icarus spaceship arrived with astronaut George Taylor. But this time, the story will take a different turn. It is likely that in this new installment, the Icarus spaceship suffers an accidental arrival on the planet of the apes, crashing or making a forced landing. Given the violence of the impact, the human crew members are killed or badly injured, with only one survivor. Astronaut May. Wounded but alive, May must then fend for herself on a planet dominated by an ape civilization, with no other humans in sight. Noah is an ape scout, who will possibly find the Icarus spaceship and save May. This is why we see the scene where Noah is climbing off a cliff with May on his back. This could be the first encounter he has with her, as she is still wearing some of her astronaut clothes. Then we have scenes where May is in clothing similar to humans of that era. It is possible that she changes her clothes to camouflage herself, and not attract the attention of Proximus Caesar. But how does Noah know where to look for the Icarus spaceship? In one of the scenes we see Noah looking through a telescope. It is possible that in this place, this is when Noah sees Icarus fall, and runs to this place where May is. May will then explain to him that everything Proximus Caesar says is a lie. According to various news reports, Proximus Caesar has distorted the teachings of the original Caesar, to the point that the apes do not know what happened 300 years ago in the past. This means that the person who will give some clarity on what is going on could be May, and May could be that person who guides Noah to become the hero of the movie. In one of the new images, we can see different soldiers of Proximus Caesar carrying May across a beach. We can also see in the scene of the trailer that Noah is on a cliff from where you can see a beach, and also in another of the images, Noah is seen trapped by a mesh on the ocean, accompanied by Raka and possibly May. This leads me to think that Proximus Caesar will take May to the place where the Icarus crashed into the sea, perhaps to force her to give him human technology, which he thinks will give him the power to control everything. This means that the story of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes will not be solely about Noah. And while Noah could be the hero in the story, this human could be central to the plot, being that connection between the past and the future, and explaining to all the apes what humans were really like. I think this theory is very likely and would explain May's character in depth. This means that we would not have George Taylor as an astronaut, and the story would be different than we thought. It would be much more similar to the original Planet of the Apes movie, where a human meets this civilization that has conquered the planet, and the humans are no longer in control. It is also interesting to imagine the reactions May would generate among the apes. Some, like Noah, might empathize and try to help her, seeing her as proof that apes and humans can collaborate. But others would probably see her as a threat, a vestige of a past they fear, or they would want to exploit her technological knowledge for their own purposes, as in the case of Proximus Caesar. This difference of perspectives among the apes themselves could be an element generating internal tensions in their society, and that could provoke a fight between Noah and Proximus Caesar for May's life. First, we should talk about the theory of time travel. Although the theme of space is part of the DNA of Planet of the Apes in the last trilogy, we did not see any element involving time travel, only a reference to the launch of the Icarus, the spaceship we saw in the original movies. However, after the release of the trailer for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, many began to claim that the woman we saw in the trailer was actually a time-traveling astronaut. However, In the past few days, the film's director, Wes Ball, has denied this theory, saying that there are no time-traveling astronauts in this film, but that he does not rule it out in the future. If we believe Wes Ball's words, this means that May is not a time traveler. However, this does not mean that she is not an astronaut. In the Planet of the Apes universe, there is NASA and ANSA. Both divisions are in charge of space travel. The Icarus belonged to a secret ANSA project, but NASA continued its travels and experiments. Just as George Taylor and his companions were sent in that experimental spacecraft into space, in the same way, NASA continued to send people into space and to other planets, and it is here where we can find the explanation of the origin of this character. The first thing to know is that there may have been astronauts in a space station when the apocalypse occurred on Earth. Apart from the Icarus, it is possible that there was a station orbiting the Earth, with astronauts who learned about what happened on Earth. In the Planet of the Apes movie from 2001, we saw space stations, and we know they exist in this universe, which means May could be an astronaut from one of these stations, or even one of the descendants of these astronauts who were not exposed to the virus. But how do humans survive 300 years on a space station orbiting Earth? To understand this, we must talk about one of the methods used by astronauts to survive for many years in the universe of the Planet of the Apes. I am talking about cryogenics. Cryonics is a scientific process which involves freezing bodies or biological tissues at extremely low temperatures in the hope of reviving them in the future. The idea behind cryonics is that by stopping all biological processes, it is possible to preserve the body or cells indefinitely until science advances enough to cure incurable diseases or even reverse the aging process. In the Planet of the Apes universe, cryogenics is used as a plot element, allowing human characters to travel through time or survive space travel for extended periods of time. Although the films don't go into technical detail about how cryonics works, they do present its dramatic effects and implications for the plot. For example, in the original film from 1968, a group of astronauts travel to what they believe to be a distant planet, only to discover after awakening from their cryonic state that they have landed on the Earth in the future, where apes are the dominant species. But we can see at the beginning of the film that the cryonics process did not work on one of the astronauts, and we can actually see how much time passed from his body. This could be the process that May was subjected to in the space station, and then upon awakening, decides to return to Earth. Also, if there are humans on a space station, they could send May as an explorer to Earth to see if it is safe to return. This would explain why her clothing is similar to the astronauts and why she is smarter than everyone else. Of course, there is the possibility that the cryonics process was not on a space station, but on Earth. We know that cryonics technology exists, and it is possible that several humans were cryopreserved in the past. Perhaps some of the cryonics labs were abandoned and later rediscovered by Proximus Caesar and his tribe. If this is the case, this would be the reason why May is persecuted, as she holds the secret of the technology from her time. Although there is one scene that personally, I think, connects May to the astronauts, and that is when she is shown in the trailer looking through the telescope. If May is coming from a space station, she could be looking at home, or perhaps she could be seeing another ship approaching. We also have a scene where Noah is looking at some models of planets, possibly, after conversing with May about space. This interaction suggests a deep curiosity and fascination with the cosmos, a theme that seems to unite both characters in a quest for knowledge and understanding. If May really is an astronaut from a space station, it is likely that Proximus saw her arrive on the spaceship. This observation might have inspired him to mention that humans in the past could fly. Perhaps May is hiding the secret of how to use that spaceship, which Proximus thinks will help him conquer the world. Proximus, for his part, seems to believe that this knowledge is the key to his ambitions of conquest, which suggests that the spaceship is not just a means of transportation, but could also be a tool or weapon of significant power. In my opinion, the theory that May is a cryogenized human is one of the most likely and would explain who she is without having to involve time travel, and would be the way to open the door to other astronauts in future movies. To understand this theory, we must first understand what happened to humanity after the fall of society. Although humanity took thousands of years to grow its society, in a few decades, the collapse of society was total. The spread of the simian flu led to a cataclysmic power shift between the species, giving the apes human intelligence and causing a deadly pandemic among humans, setting the stage for the rise of the apes and the decline of humanity. The simian flu virus spread around the world via international air routes after an infected airport worker transmitted it to travelers. The resulting pandemic decimated the human population in a matter of months, with approximately half of humanity dead within 6 to 8 months. Society collapsed in chaos and unrest. The apes experienced an evolutionary explosion of intelligence at the same time. 10 years later, human civilization had collapsed, with only small groups of immune survivors scattered around the world. Later, the virus mutated into a form which, instead of killing humans, turned them mute and primitive. The fall of humanity to this virus, and the supremacy of another more intelligent species, is the basis of the new film, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But as with any virus, not all humans are affected in the same way. Some are immune, or manage to stay out of harm's way, while the world faced the crisis. For example, very wealthy people built safe havens underground to protect themselves. These subway bunkers, equipped with technology and food reserves, allowed their inhabitants to survive, while chaos reigned on the surface. Meanwhile, others sought safety in subway military installations, which also contained nuclear bombs, taking advantage of the protection and resources these places offered. These bases became small, fortified communities, where life went on, albeit in a very different way from what they knew before. Even in the original movies, many humans lived underground for hundreds of years without seeing sunlight, but not everyone had access to these sophisticated solutions. Many people chose to retreat to remote areas, far from cities and modern technology. In these places, communities had to learn to live off the land, rediscovering ancestral survival skills and creating new traditions. Over the generations, these communities adapted to a simpler lifestyle, but were not exempt from the challenges presented by the outside world. As the years passed, even the most secure shelters began to face problems. Bunkers and military bases, once seen as foolproof solutions, began to suffer from the wear and tear of time and the scarcity of resources. Isolated communities also faced their own challenges, such as disease and population decline, due to difficult living conditions. This is where this theory becomes interesting. Generally, the reasons for migrating are usually natural disasters or lack of resources for the tribe. It is possible that if May was in a group of humans who were immune to the virus, they had to return to the destroyed cities in search of resources. And it is possible that this group, over time, began to lose resources and community members. This group could even have been attacked by Proximus Caesar. We would not be talking about mutants in a city, but humans who survived, hiding for more than 300 years, who have their customs, and who are as intelligent as the humans of Caesar's time, since they are immune to the simian flu and their cognitive abilities were not affected. This would also explain why May's clothing resembles what humans normally wore. It is possible that she still has access to clothing production methods, and that much of human culture remains. It is even possible that in future movies, we will see a fairly advanced human city, but away from the apes, the same one that could eventually become mutants. But what if the group where May lived was attacked by Proximus Caesar, and May was the only one to escape? If Noah's group found those clothes with blood on them, was it because they were a trace May left behind when she escaped? What if May is the last of the humans who can talk? This would make May the last hope for humanity to return to normal. And Noah will try to protect her. This idea of May being the last immune human I think is very likely, even more so than being an astronaut. And while it's not a popular theory, I think it's where the movie could be heading, as it not only explains why they need May, but also her distinctive clothing. And that would make sense of why Proximus needs May. If indeed Proximus's group did end the lives of May's group, and they still possess technology that can be used, Proximus would need her to teach him how to use it. Perhaps this is where the idea that knowledge is power applies, and perhaps this knowledge is held by May. But what would this technology be that May would have access to? Perhaps a place where only humans can enter. Perhaps the door to a bunker. Or maybe an ancient technology such as Alpha and Omega, the nuclear bomb we saw in the original movies. May could also be the one to explain to Noah what really happened in the world. Perhaps she will lead them to a library, or some place where crucial information about humanity is kept, a last place that protects the history of the world. Here Noah might discover who Caesar was, and his connection to him. I think May's story has a lot of potential, and we look forward to seeing how it will play out in the film. These have been the 5 theories about May and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. But tell me, what do you think? Which of these theories do you think is the one we would see in the movie? And for more videos of your favorite series and movies, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. You are on The Oasis Geek.